right, guys, I already gave you the intro. Alex is here from The Third Door, my favorite book of 2018.
I love that, man.
You already know. You already know.
And you made me read 2 pages.
And what do you think?
I loved it.
Hey, we're good. We're in business.
I'm going to listen to the audio version.
Let's start with this, though.
Let's do
Just what is The Third Door? Just explain to everybody just the general thesis behind The Third Door.
So for the past 7 years, I've been on this quest to track down the world's most successful people. And what I figured out is they all treat life and business and success the exact same way. And the analogy that came to me was that it's sort of like getting into a nightclub. There's always 3 ways in. So there's the first door, the main entrance, where the line curves around the block, where 99% of people wait around hoping to get in. That's the first door. And then there's the second door, the VIP entrance, where the billionaires and celebrities go through. And for some reason, school and society have this way of making us feel like those are the only 2 ways in. You're either born into it or you wait your turn like everybody else. But what I learned is that there's always the third door.
I like going this way, better than waiting in line. How you doing, man? Good. What's up? There you go.
And it's the entrance where you jump out of line, run down the alley, bang on the door 100 times, crack open the window, go through the kitchen. There's always a way in. And it doesn't matter if that's how Bill Gates sold his first piece of software or how Spielberg became the youngest director in Hollywood history. They all took the third door. So for business, I spoke to Bill Gates, music, Lady Gaga, science, Jane Goodall, poetry, Maya Angelou. We talked about Pitbull, Larry King, Jessica Alba, Tim Ferriss, Quincy Jones, Steve Wozniak. It's really been this unbelievable adventure.
So one of the main things that we talk about to them, our YouTube squad out there, is patience.
I fucking hate patience, but it's inevitable.
Why don't you tell them?
You have to accept it.
Just tell
I hated it.
Tell them how long it took you from the day you started doing this to the day the book came out. Just tell them how long.
So I started writing the book when I was an 18-year-old college freshman because I was going through this life crisis, not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I started writing this book is because I thought I could get it done in 3 months. I thought I would just call up Bill Gates, interview him, I'd be done in a few months. Fast forward 7 years later, and it's finally out.
7 years, guys.
It's amazing.
Let's pop up that 7 years.
Right, but this is the thing though. If I knew it would take 7 years, I might have not done it. There's something beautiful about being naive.
Sure.
Being naive and being hungry that actually gets you going. And then you're just like, well, I just need a little longer. And 7 years later, you're finally there.
The reason why I love your book so much is it was a mix between business and storytelling.
Yeah.
So I really don't want to read about random stories. That really does not interest me. But with you, right away, you got me through The Price is Right. Now, for you guys, I think personally, it started right away with the story. It hooked me in right away. Why don't you give them like a little bit about what happened, just a little bit, because I truly believe that if people know a little bit about this, they will read that whole damn book. So just tell them a little bit about The Price is Right.
So what ended up happening is that when I decided I wanted to go write this book, I realized, I was buried in student loan debt. I was all out of bar mitzvah cash. So there had to be a way to make some quick money. So I did, the only thing I could think of, I was on finals, it was finals week at college. Yep. And I was in the library doing what everyone's doing in the library right before finals. Mm-hmm. I'm on Facebook. And I'm on Facebook and I see someone offering free tickets to The Price is Right. And the game show was filming right over here. I was going to college at USC here in downtown. And my first thought was, what if I go on the show and win some money to fund this book? Not my brightest moment. Mm-hmm. Plus, I had a problem. I'd never seen a full episode of the show before. But I don't know if you guys have had one of these moments where an idea just claws its way back into your mind. No matter how stupid it is, it just keeps coming back. So that night, I decided to do the logical thing and pull an all-nighter study. But I didn't study for finals. I studied how to hack The Price is Right.
Hey.
And I went on the show the next day and did this ridiculous strategy and ended up winning the whole showcase showdown, winning a sailboat, selling the sailboat, and that's how I funded the book.
Trip to Cape Canaveral for a weightless flight, 0G flight, and a sailboat. You bid $30,000, actual retail price. $31,188, difference of $1,188. Alex, just by a couple $100. Alex, congratulations, man.
I remember in the book, you talked about kind of that, your parents super conservative, wanted you to be.
Oh my God, yeah.
What was that like? What was that process like, kind of explaining to them, hey, I'm not going to do school. I'm going to spend X amount of years writing this book. Like, what was that like for you, like internally in your head? Were you like, tell us a little bit about that.
It was World War III.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm not saying that as a joke. It was tears and arguments and yelling and door slamming shut. Anybody who's the child of an immigrant understands when my parents sacrificed everything for me to go to college. Me deciding to leave wasn't just about me not graduating college. It was really me turning my back on the sacrifices they've made.
Yep.
And internally, I love my parents. My mom is the reason I am who I am. Mm-hmm. So although I'm telling her, like, it's the right thing to do, I'm going to bed at night wondering, what if she's right and this is the biggest mistake of my life?
Even like when you were getting, Gates and Buffett, like, were these indications to them that you were on?
I didn't have them yet, though. I left school before Bill Gates was in. So
who did you have when you left school?
Oh my God, no one. Not no one. It was, Maya Angelou was in, Tim Ferriss was in, Sugar Ray Leonard. There was definitely some really amazing people in the book, but the kind of people who are like, right there, top of the billing. I didn't have a publisher yet, so it was so risky. You want to know the craziest thing?
What?
8 days after I dropped out of college, I got the publishing deal.
Damn.
But those 8 days were the scariest 8 days of my life.
And did their opinion change after that publishing deal, or were they still thinking you kind of made a mistake?
They tough.
I remember my grandpa, the day I got the publishing deal, told I was super close to my grandparents. I told my grandpa, and he was like, once you're lucky. And I was like, oh. You have to understand too, like, I'm proud of it. I'll share. I was the youngest business author in the history of the Crown Publishing Group. The Crown Publishing Group did Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Richard Branson. I'm the youngest business author they've ever signed, and I'm like, my day of celebration, and hearing that was like so hard to hear. 2% is off the hip though, and you guys know it. 98%. Before you guys walked into your meeting with Gary Vaynerchuk, you guys had done all your work.
Yep.
Not only on your business, but you knew everything you could about Gary. You walked in there. Yeah, in the meeting, you're like, shooting things off the hip. Mm-hmm. But, I have this phrase that I use with my friends. It's called, like, learn and burn. You need to learn everything you possibly can before you go into a meeting. The second you go in there, you have to burn everything you know and just do it live.
For sure.
Yeah. And I really believe in that. Like, learn everything you can and then just burn it. Because the second you go in there, if you're going off of a script, you're fucked. It's from the book, Think and Grow Rich, but it's this old story of this, general takes, 3 big ships of this, big army to an island to go do an invasion because he heard, there would be 300 people on the island, in their defense. And he's like, all right, I'm going to bring 300 of my soldiers and we'll crush them. We have a bigger army. We have more tools. He gets there and there weren't 300 people. There were 3,000 people on the opposing forces. And you realize, the ships had hit shore. There's nothing they can do. And the soldiers were freaking out. And he finally comes up with a strategy. The general, takes a match, gets all of his soldiers lined up on the beach, and he lights the ships on fire. And they win.
Hey.
And the moral of the story is that when you have no plan for retreat, you will go 100% in.
So here's the question. If you were to create a canvas, what would you put on it relating to the third door?
Yeah,
I know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this poster, so you guys promise not to run with it?
I got confirmation from him before you came in. I was like, can we do a collab with him? He said yes. I need to get all.
Okay, so maybe we'll do it together then.
Yeah.
I already have the idea in my mind.
Yes.
Of doing that at some point.
We're getting it all on camera right now.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Ooh, you do say that. That's like.
You can also
that's a banger.
You can also incorporate doors in it.
This is the thing that I'm like super passionate about now. Is that especially like in our world, business world, digital, people love saying, never give up. I wanted to give up 100 times.
Yeah.
I was actually talking about this with a friend yesterday. I thought about giving up maybe 1,000 times. I seriously considered. And by seriously, I mean like I would sleep on it and the next day I didn't change my mind. Like it lasted for days. Completely giving up. And I think it's a huge injustice when people say never give up, keep pushing. Dude, we're human beings. And what happens is when you are naturally human and you think about, whether you made a mistake, whether you should give up, and you hear other people saying never give up, it makes you think there's something wrong with you. Yeah. But when you realize that fear is a natural part of entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Fear is a natural part of entrepreneurship. When you realize that, you realize, your fears of whether you should give up or not are actually a normal phase in the entrepreneurship cycle. And instead of running away when you like have the thoughts of giving up, you actually buckle down, you know, sleep in a little, maybe take the afternoon off, turn off your phone, watch a movie, and the next day get back at it.
It's that quote that you just told me to do. It was like, if you feel like quitting, rest. You know, don't.
Dude, I agree 100%. When people try to push through the feeling of quitting, they burn out and then they quit.
Interesting.
When people want to quit and they push through it, they burn out and then they quit. If you feel like quitting and you actually say, you know what? That feeling actually makes complete sense because I just got rejected 15 times this week. I haven't seen my family. I haven't, you know, gone on a date in 6 months, and I haven't gone to the gym. No wonder I feel like quitting. Let me take the day off. What happens then is you actually come back to work the next day.
At what point were you like, I'm done? You know, that probably was tough for you because you always technically can make it better. You can make one more
interview. You could.
Yeah, one more. How did
it
that
depends.
go?
There were phases. Oh my god, it would be so funny when people would be like the day the book came out. People were like, "Are you so relieved you're done?" I'm like, This is day one of the whole new phase, you know?
Yep.
So it depends what phase you're talking about.
Yeah.
So there's been phases of this book. There's been almost phase one of just trying to get interviews, right when I was 18 years old. And that was like literally chasing people on sidewalks with Tim Ferriss. I had to hide in a bathroom for 30 minutes by a toilet and somehow when he walked by. That's sort of how I think of phase one. And then there was, I've actually never talked about this. This is like how I sort of view the third door, the 7 years. That was phase one of just getting those early interviews. And then the next phase was getting a publishing deal. That was 8 months of just pain. Because to my surprise, you know, the world's biggest publisher doesn't do deals with 18-year-olds, you know? So that was the next phase. But once I got that phase, the next phase started, which was once I had the publishing deal, getting the bigger interviews. You know, the Bill Gateses, the Warren Buffetts and stuff. And then the next phase, which I thought would be easy, but it turned out to be the hardest one of all.
Like the editing and finalizing.
Forget about editing. Writing a narrative.
Yeah. Because
if my original idea was I was going to just turn this into sort of like blog posts, sort of like Tools of Titans, but before Tools of Titans came out, you know? Yeah. But I realized, and you mentioned this, I wouldn't be able to, you know how you got hooked in those 2 pages? Mm-hmm. Every chapter got edited 130 plus times.
Damn.
Before I sent the Bill Gates chapter to the publisher, I had already edited 134 times. And then it went through publisher edits. So it's been edited 175 times.
Another thing that I found really interesting, and I want you to swipe this up and show this right here. It's actually, I Instagram storied it, and that's how I originally found you. I think the quote was, people don't do business with ideas, they do business with people.
People want to help people who they like. People want to help people who they believe in. Yeah. People want to help people who they want to see win. And that took me a lot of mistakes to eventually learn.
I don't know if that was from the book or from something I read. Yeah. But for me...
No, it's a quote from the book. It's actually from Larry King.
That resonates with me so much that, you know, with our business, I love every single person in our company. And for them to sit in this office above everything, I need to want to spend time with them. So kind of like how it resonated with Cal, it resonated with me. Why don't you explain to everybody just like how important, you know, forming genuine relations are in anything and how it was in the book? Like what did that do? Like kind of how you just explained it with Cal, like how important was it?
It's not even, I wouldn't even call it as something that's important. I'd call it something that's foundational.
Yeah.
Because you can't succeed without it. And I don't even want to use the word succeed. You can't, because success is a very esoteric term. Yep. You can't achieve your goal without it.
Yep.
You can't be happy without it.
For sure.
And, you know, you can sort of try to wheel and deal your way through business, but at the end of the day, everyone's going to eat shit and fall. Mm-hmm. And only when you have those like real relationships, like your people, can you bounce back. It's just, I don't think there's an exception to the rule. And for me, being 18 years old, 19 years old, trying to write a book where I have no writing experience, and trying to get interviews with people where I have no connections to, the entire book is a thesis on how relationships are the key. I remember I read this book called Never Eat Alone, and it's a great book, especially for people who want to start building a network and start making business relationships. Never Eat Alone is a great start. And I just went and interned and volunteered for the author of that book, who wrote the book Never Eat Alone. And I ended up at that conference I was literally just a volunteer, you know, with an orange shirt, like helping guide people in the hallway.
With the expectations to do what?
Just be around these people.
Be in the mix.
Okay.
You know,
So
just
the whole book's about just getting.
I was like 18 years old, and I was like, I just want to like be around people in business.
Yep.
Because I at the time I thought I was going to be a doctor, so I was like, all right, I'm going to do doctor stuff in school, but like after hours of school, I would like I'm just like interested in this stuff.
Yep.
And I ended up meeting a few people there that changed my life. And you have to understand, I was an intern. I wasn't like the director of the conference. I was the orange shirt volunteer. And I met someone from a company called DonorsChoose.org. And he, one of the biggest nonprofits in the world, and he helped me get to Tim Ferriss. I met another guy, his name is Stephen Weitz. I don't know if you remember him in the book, but he helped me get to Chilu and Bill Gates. It's just remarkable that from that one experience volunteering for a weekend, I met people that changed my life forever. Well, look, to be honest, I tried to shoot my shot as early as I could and as often as I could. It just didn't work until it became more credible. But what ends up happening, and the beauty of this book, is that people said yes. People said yes to doing the interviews, even before I had a publisher, even before I had a name to myself, because they believed in the mission. Now, not all of them, but even if you're getting a 1% yes rate, you're in business. It's funny, I've learned it's not done until literally it's done.
Yeah, you can't celebrate.
Someone saying yes, even, oh my God, I won't name him, but it's the CEO of a major Fortune 100 company, one of the most famous companies on earth. I got a yes from him. I fly up to their headquarters to do an interview with the CEO. Their chief communication officer has approved it. The CEO personally approved the interview. I fly all the way up to their headquarters. Literally the day before, they're like, oh, he had a family emergency. Can we reschedule? I was like, yeah, of course. Totally understand. And then 2 weeks later, I was like, hey, you want to reschedule? They're like, it's getting busy now. Let's reschedule. 8 months later, they're like, oh, we're still super busy. And then I'm like, do you guys even want to do this? They're like, do you know what? Resubmit a new request. And then I kicked it to the wayside. So it's not done until it's done. I almost died. I almost got arrested. I almost died. And I pretty much got blacklisted. I got blacklisted from Warren Buffett. I almost died with Steven Spielberg. And the police almost got called with Mark Zuckerberg.
What would be your advice to someone that's a young, aspiring author, entrepreneur, someone that wants to write a book? What advice would you give them? Just general advice.
I would give the advice that Tony Hsieh gave me, the CEO of Zappos. He wrote one of my favorite books, Delivering Happiness.
Great book.
And anybody out there who's wanting to write a business book specifically, a nonfiction business book, like The Third Door, like The 4 Hour Work Week, my biggest thing I would say to them is know why you're doing it. Because you can't win the battle until you know what battle you're fighting.
For sure.
And a lot of people ask, should I do self-published? Should I do traditionally published? Should I write long form? Should I do short form? The answer is yes to all of them. It depends what you want to do. Are you trying to do a book really quickly, make as much money in the short term as possible? Self-published, easy is the best way to do it. If you want something that will stand the test of time longer, you don't worry as much about the economics as much as you do about the visibility, getting the message out, traditional publishing might be better. So it all depends what you want to do. But I think the biggest mistake people make is they don't ask themselves why they're doing what they're doing. And then they can't do the right tactics because they don't know where they're going.
Why don't you give us 30 seconds or less? Why are you writing the book? Why did you write the book?
I wanted to share a message with not only as many people as possible, but really with the people who I cared about. And it was literally people like you, man. And I mean that. That's why it was so emotional for me when, before we started filming, he showed me his copy of the book. I literally took photos of it.
Love it.
Because I was going through that crisis myself. My friends were going through that crisis myself. And what's crazy is that the book has sort of transcended who I wrote it for. I wrote it for people who wanted to find a way to break through and launch their careers, who were looking for that, roadmap of how to make their dream possible.
All right, so let's finish with this. What message do you want to send to the people out there? Open forum. Last thing that you got to say. My first thing is, guys, in the comments below, you guys all know what the third door is. I want you guys to give us your best third door story. And then us together are going to pick the winner, and we're going to send you a signed book. I didn't even ask him, but he's signing the book. He's going to sign this book here. I'm going to sign it. Signed book. That's first off. And then for you, anything. What do you got to tell them? Tell them something. You're a very wise man. You're maybe one of the wisest that have sat in the seat. Wise.
Thank you, man.
Anything.
I'll say this, especially in the new year.
Yeah.
2019, there's no award at the end of your life for who's achieved the most. You don't get a special award. You don't get a special report card. At the end, all that really matters is who's standing beside you and who loves you. And I think that gets lost a lot in business and people who want to achieve. And when my dad passed away 2 years ago, that's one of the biggest lessons I got. Be kind to yourself and be kind to those around you, because at the end of the day, that's all you have left.
All right, and where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram at Alex Benayan, and the book is everywhere books are sold. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Audible, however you like books, Kindle, it's there.
My mama don't dance, daddy don't rock and roll. I don't know where I got it from, cause I love to do both. I had too much to dream, I need a tinier dose. I always go with my gut, yeah, I don't go with the flow. Yeah, I'm inspired, just feel like a cool breeze, Ice Cube.